Hi, welcome to Shannon Confidential. I'm Shannon, your host. And Shannon Confidential is a podcast where we talk about life, love, and everything in between. And right now in this world, there's an awful lot of everything in between going on. And I thought I would take some of the information I learned by a course I'm taking, and I must give her credit for this. I want to acknowledge Professor Lori Santos from Yale. She's a professor in psychology. I'm taking her Science of Well-Being course. She also has a podcast, The Happiness Lab. And this course has been so incredible for me. I have learned so much about the way we are as people, and that happiness doesn't necessarily come naturally. And I'll go into explaining that why. And what I've learned has really made me appreciate more what I do have, what I am happy about, that there are certain parts of this course that make me realize I'm getting it right. And there's also parts of this course that made me realize I need to rethink a few things. And I wanted to take the important parts that I've learned from the course, by no stretch of the imagination reteach it, because I would never do that. I do strongly suggest that you take it, and I will link you up to it when this gets posted. But I really think that we should all take a step back and have an attitude adjustment. So for the next 3 episodes of Shannon Confidential, we're going to have an attitude adjustment, and I'm going to go into different things that explain why we do what we do, why necessarily just being happy and cheery and wonderful all the time doesn't necessarily come naturally, just by the way we're wired. So I'll go right into this. You're going to hear me say the word savor a lot, and that is something that is really, really important that Professor Santos stresses a lot. When you invest in an experience, rather than materialistic things that get old and boring over time. When you invest in an experience, say, even if it's reading a book or making a good meal or going for a bike ride or spending time with family and friends or going on a trip, big trip, little trip, doesn't matter. When you savor that, meaning you relive it, you think about it, you talk about it, you could post about it, you talk to your friends about it, and you're just like, oh my God, we went on this amazing motorcycle ride and the turns were unbelievable. When you talk to somebody, or we had this meal the other night and I made this apple relish, Lacey, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Oh my God.
And you start talking about it, your friends want it. They're like, oh my God, that sounds amazing. Can you give me the recipe? Or Lacey, I'm a really good cook. Can you send me some? You know, whatever it is. Yeah. When you savor that and you relive it, not only did you take that happy moment that you had, by talking about it and savoring it, you're making it last even longer. You're paying that happiness forward to the person you're speaking to, and then you're also improving their day. So savoring and living in the moment and appreciating what you do and those experiences will go so much further for you than buying that one materialistic thing that you had to have at that very moment that will eventually get old, because we are also wired to forget. We are wired to become desensitized. We hear that word a lot on the news. You see the same thing over and over, and the first time you see it, you're just like, what the hell? And then you see it a couple more times, and it's not that great or shocking anymore, because your brain is wired to get used to things. I mean, think about it. When you fell in love, and then if you don't intentionally follow that feeling and stay in love and do kind things for each other and be affectionate, and I know some of you out there are probably going, yeah, you go numb, your relationships get boring. Remember when you used to say I love you? Ask yourself, when was the last time you said it? Do you say it as often as you did? Probably not. Now, of course, it doesn't have to go with Matthew because he walks on water. He's known as Saint Matthew in the house. But nonetheless, realistically, you don't keep up that excitement. When you bought your first car, you washed your car. You had to wash it all the time. If you're like me, I named my car. Now, she's still Scarlett, but you see what I'm saying here? The car gets dirty. You don't really care if people start eating in it. That outfit that you had to have, that now it's been 2 months. When was the last time you put it on? That happens for a reason. Your brain is wired to get desensitized. Is safety mechanism, yeah, so you're not hurt all the time or you don't have pain all the time, but it's also wired to forget. So those good things that you love, your significant other, that outfit, your car, your favorite song. You listen to it all the time, and then you almost listen to it so much that you can't stand to hear it again. But then when you haven't heard it in a while, and it does come on, all that joy comes back. That's up here. That's how you're wired. And that's why I named this segment, We've Been Duped, because we think, oh my God, I have to have the car, I have to have the outfit, I love that song, I love you. And then things start to fade. Well, it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean you don't appreciate things. It just means that you're wired not to remember that initial feeling, and it does take actual wanting to get that back. You have to intentionally remember those things. That's why I'm saying savoring is so important. Remembering those good experiences. When your husband, your wife, or the person you love walks through the door, just say I love you. Give them a hug. Kiss them on the cheek. Do something you haven't done but maybe you used to do, and see how quickly that brings that emotion back, because it's there. We're just not wired to remember it all the time. But that doesn't mean you still can't do it. It just means you have to intentionally make the effort to do it. You have to stay in the moment to savor something. Put your cameras down. Don't live your life through a lens. Yes, there's going to be great pictures that would make a great post. But you know what? Live it. See it. Don't remember, oh, I remember taking a picture of that. I've been to a lot of concerts. Put your damn phones down. Watch them, live it. I'm telling you, you will remember so much more about your trip, your day, your concert, if you're looking at it through these lenses, not your camera lens. Live life in the moment. Savor it in the moment. Talk about it with your friends in the moment. I'm not saying if you're not going on a beautiful trip or things, don't take out your camera for a beautiful sunset. I'm not saying that. Please don't take anything I say to an extreme. I'm asking you to find happiness in the moment. Put your camera down more often. Post some of that stuff less. Talk about it more. And be proud of the things that you do talk about. It's not wrong that you got a new car. I got a new car, oh my God, I can't wait. There's nothing wrong with that. You worked your butt off. You got a new car. Savor it, love it, cherish it, talk to your friends about it. If someone has a problem, you had a new car, they're the problem, not the car. Remember that. Appreciate your good in your life. Don't always go, well, yeah, that was fun, but not gonna be able to do it tomorrow. No. Appreciate that it was fun. Talk about it. Relive the fun. Stop being a negative Nelly. Stop bothering people. People want to hear that. Be happier. By talking about your happiness, you will actually lengthen your happiness. You will make the person you're talking to happiness, and you're spreading happiness. That's joy. We need a hell of a lot more of it out there. And one thing that I have seen, gosh, I have seen so many people do this, and I'm not trying to be rude here when I say I see more women do this than men, is the comparison. The comparison, the social media comparison, the job comparison, the salary comparison. Stop comparing. Be happy with what you have. Our intuitions are off. They're very off. We assume so much. We assume strangers don't want us to say hi. We assume we shouldn't talk to people in elevators. We assume smiling at some random person as they pass us is going to be, they're going to look at us like we have three heads. Now, there is some truth to that. But that's only because we have been wired, we have been conditioned to think that that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to get in the elevator. You get in the elevator, you're talking to your friends. Lacey, you'll know this motion. You get in the elevator, you're talking to your friends, you're having a great time, talking about what to do that night. You get in the elevator, and the door's shut, and what do? And the elevator's door is open again, and then you start talking again. There's no rule you can't talk in an elevator. It just became what we thought you had to do. You can talk in an elevator. There's nothing wrong with that. Don't be obnoxious, but you can talk in an elevator. But do you see where I'm going with this? We're wired to assume strangers don't want us to say hi. People don't want you to smile at them. You can't start a conversation because you think someone's too busy. They don't want to be bothered. You may get that reaction, but I would tend to say if you actually do it, and I have, you get a much better response. Not only that, you'll remember that conversation. Oh, remember that conversation I had with that person in the elevator and they told us that they did this? I learned something that day. And that person is probably going, yeah, something weird happened today. Someone talked to me in an elevator. But they're talking about it. It's showing happiness. It's spreading joy. It's spreading appreciation. You're savoring that moment, and it's just adding to your life experience. Change your reference points, people. When you're comparing everything, Don't compare to the perfect, wonderful family, totally filtered photos of the people that you're seeing on social media. I'm going to tell you from experience. I do not post the bullshit in my life. I don't post the stuff that makes me sad. Do I live a great life? Absolutely. I am so thankful every day for the greatness that I have been given with the man that I love, my family that I love, friends that I adore and cherish that I need so desperately. Yes, I am lucky that way, and I will savor that with all of you. But I'm not going to tell you there's not times where I'm not in tears or I don't get crushed by something a family member says. Let me explain something to you. I have two amazing, amazing children, and if you know me, you know Jake and Taylor, and they're pretty freaking awesome, okay? With that said, they're oil and water. They have a love-hate relationship. They are so flippin' awesome. They're amazing athletes. They're so smart in their own way. They're so strong. They're so passionate in the things that they feel. But they're that way with each other too. And that gets them in really bad arguments. Really bad arguments. And being their mom, and that they're two such passionate people, they want me to take their side. And one may be wrong. They both might be wrong. They both might be right by being wrong, but they want me to take their side. And if I don't take their side, or if I just say, you know what, you're both right. I don't agree with either one of you, but you're both right. One or both could have gotten mad at me, and they haven't talked to me for a week, 2 weeks. Even sent me I call them nasty grams. They'll send me text messages telling me how much I suck as a mom. Yeah, it's true, people. I don't post that on Facebook. I don't post that. That makes me cry. But I will post those pictures when we're all together for Mother's Day because they're my family. And I love those moments. And we don't all have to agree all the time. And they don't have to always think I'm wonderful. But what I'm saying to you is I don't post that. And most people don't either. They don't post the argument they just had with their spouse. They don't post that maybe they just got fired from a job, or maybe they do because they're venting. But they don't post the negative. Your reference point is basing, or you're comparing your happiness or your social status on a lie. And it's not necessarily a bad lie. I'm not lying to you when I post only the good, but I am giving you a false narrative that thinks I only have good in my life. I'm here to tell you I don't. Shit happens. But I'm okay with saying that. I just don't post about it. I don't think it's anybody's business. Facebook to me is sharing the joys in my life. I want to savor the joys in my life, the happiness. So I am very happy when I see friends of mine start a new career, or they win an award, or they have a promotion, or they just got a new dog, or they were able to buy their first home, or they're getting married for the third time. I don't care. I love success stories. I love happiness. I love savoring in their happiness. It makes me happy. See where I'm going with this? But when you're saying, well, hell, my life sucks. Look, she got a new job and she's got this great husband. Change your reference points, because you're only seeing the good points. You might realize your life is probably just about as good as theirs if you just stop thinking it's not. You know, those, why can't I have pictures with no wrinkles? She always looks awesome. It's probably filtered. I use a filter. I don't use it all the time. I'm not filtered now, but I do. There's some times where the camera gets an angle of me and I look like a 80-year-old lizard. Yeah, I'll filter it. I have no problem saying that, but I don't act as if I'm not filtered. I have so many smile lines, people. I've got lines all over my face, but I gotta tell you, I earned every single one of these. Cynthia laughed all our way through high school. Cabbage Pail Kids or Garbage Pail Kids, those funny hysterical things, Ryan. Yeah, I laughed my ass off through high school, and I've laughed my ass off through adulthood. And yeah, maybe some of these lines are from tears of sadness, but you know what? These are me. These are me, and I am not ashamed of that. I will filter when it looks a little excessive, but nonetheless, I'm just saying we're all real. Don't compare yourself to something that's not real, because that's going to set you up to thinking you're not good enough, or you're not making enough, or you're not happy enough. You need to make your own happiness and reset your reference point. Pull it back. Everything it can't be Christmas every day. It's not Christmas every day. So pull it back to August. It's not December. Pull it back to August. bring it all back to reality. And if you really just can't stop comparing yourself to some false social media posts, stop looking at it. Just stop looking at it. If someone's great life is bringing you down, stop looking at it. You need to get yourself straight up here. You need to reset your reference point, realize that life isn't all candy and happiness and joy, and everybody goes through a lot, and understand that the happiness people are posting that's what they choose to post, and that's fine and that's wonderful, but don't compare your happiness to it. You need to make your own happiness here. And I'm gonna give you two quick references. There was a survey done. There's two surveys done on the course. So I'm going to give you example on two surveys that were done in the course. And one of them was your job salary, and you had a choice that you could either make $50,000 and everybody else in your business would make $25,000, or we'll pay you $100,000, but you might have some people in your business that make $250,000. Do you know that people are so overwhelmed with being better and comparing and competing that the survey people actually would have preferred to make $50,000, knowing that everybody else made less than them, than make $100,000, knowing some people at the business could make more than them. In what world would you intentionally take $50,000 less just so you could inflate your ego? That comes from up here, everybody. You need to rethink your reference point. Stop comparing. I'd rather make $100,000 any day over $50,000, and I don't care what anybody else makes. If I'm worth $100,000, that's what I want. But I'm not going to take 50 so I make more than everybody. Who cares? And if that actually made sense to you, hell, that's all I got to say about that. Then there was another one. They gave people $5 bills and $20 bills and said, okay, you can either spend it on yourself or you can spend it on someone else. And their first initial thought was it would actually make them happier to spend it on themselves. So when they went back and surveyed the people they gave the money to, they asked the people that spent it on themselves, did it actually make you as happy as you thought it would? And it didn't. They kind of were like, no, I thought it would make me really happy, but it didn't. But the people who spent it on other people, it actually made them happier. It's fun to play Santa Claus. There's nothing wrong with that. So there is goodness up here. And just to make sure you realize that $5, $20, maybe in certain parts of the world, that's really no big deal. Okay, well, that's coffee with a friend. Yeah, you're right, that is. But they also did it in Uganda. And that's completely different. That $20 is medical supplies and food for a month. Don't quote me, but it's a lot more than coffee here in Fort Lauderdale. And they surveyed them. You could keep it and spend it on yourself and buy food and medical supplies for your family, or you could help another family. And the same response, the same exact response, it made them happier to then spend that on another family to help them with their medical supplies. So savoring, paying it forward, doing all of that, it's scientifically shown it does make us happier, and it does make the people who receive it happier. And that brings me to a beautiful, beautiful quote that I had once heard from Maya Angelou, and it was, if you don't like something, change it. If you can't change something, change your attitude. Thank you, everybody. It's been a pleasure going through our 3-part series, Attitude Adjustment. We just completed, we've been duped. Again, we got to rethink, we reset our reference points. And I look forward to next week on Attitude Adjustment when we go to It's an Illusion. And this has turned into one of my favorite parts of my podcast, and that is the Be Kind quote, because if anything, we need a lot more kindness right now. And the Be Kind quote of this week is actually by Dale Carnegie, and it's not what you have or who you are or where you are or what you're doing that makes you happy or unhappy. It's what you think about it. Now take the time to actually think about that. It's what you think about it. Savor. And now we're at our style secrets. Now usually this is where I pay it forward with a lotion, potion, some type of voodoo, something that I've used or my friends have used to pay it forward that I'll let you guys try it and see if you like it. But this time I'm actually going to style secret this course. Again, if you remember correctly, I acknowledged Professor Lori Santos, psychology at Yale University. She's the one that's running the course, which actually became the most popular course at the school, that I'm taking, the Science of Well-Being. I am going to link, when this podcast comes out, I'll link all of you up to her course. I strongly, strongly advise you take it. You can also follow her on her podcast, The Happiness Lab. You know I love hearing from you. For all of my followers out there that have been writing to me about suggestions for the show, thank you so much for contributing to the confidential questions. That's, of course, the interactive part where I would love for you to send me your suggestions, your questions, anything I have talked about, haven't talked about. I've had great suggestions. Megan, thank you for the leadership suggestion. I'm going to make that a series as well. Also suggestions on behaviors of men and married men towards married women. There's a lot of fun stuff coming up. So thank you very much for writing in and giving me your suggestions and all of your kind words. You can always send your confidential questions to my email, and that is shannonconfidential007@gmail.com. I look forward to hearing from you. I am also so excited that I have merchandise now. You can find my merchandise at redbubble.com. That's REDBUBBLE.com. All you have to do is search Shannon Confidential. And of course, follow me on Shannon Confidential at Facebook. That's Shannon Confidential. On Twitter, that is at ShannonConfide7. On Instagram, it's Shannon_confidential. YouTube, Shannon Confidential. And on Apple Podcasts, you can search me on Shannon Confidential. Thank you very much, everybody. And I'm looking forward to seeing you for part 2 next week. It's an illusion.